Hey, what's up? So I wanted to talk today about a number of things. We'll see what comes out, but delegation has been on my mind. I went to a conference last month and I watched a panel of some of the best agents in the country talking, and they did a Q&A, and one of the agents was asked, he was our like specialty agent of the year, which means, he led the company in, boats, four-wheelers, motorhomes, stuff like that. And they were like, how'd you do it? And he was like, well, there was a point in time in my career where I learned it was important to evolve from an agent to an agency manager. And he was like, I can't take a lot of credit for all of the specialty vehicles, that we wrote last year. He's like, what did we write? We write boats and four-wheelers, and he was funny. He was like, and whatever else specialty is, like, he didn't even really know, but his agency wrote more than every other agent in the country. And that was, attributed to the fact that he was an excellent agency manager. He made the leap from, agent to agency manager. So what does that mean? Our career is a really long, winding path. The agency you have today will not be the agency you have tomorrow, or in 2 years, or 5 years, or 10 years. Okay. If you're brand new, what you're doing today is significantly different than what you're going to be doing down the road. And so you want to collect these thoughts and skills along the way so that when the time comes, you've built the bridge to make it over to the other side, and you will continue to grow and scale and things like that. You can't keep doing what you're doing today and expect, to grow. It's a game of survival. And I remember when it was early in my career, and, delegation is something that really is your superpower. It becomes your superpower, but you have to be willing to access it. And the reason that I don't think agents delegate enough, to be honest with you. And I don't think agents get the most out of their team. Okay. So I was coaching an agent, and he's like, Matt, I have all this stuff to do. I got all these things to quote. I was like, and I got somebody else who needs something right now, but I got this other thing that needs to be done. And I said, hey man, why don't you let your staff member quote that? And it was like a light bulb went off, and he was like, oh yeah, I guess that's a great idea. And it kind of changed the course of the way he's going to do some things moving forward. Okay. So delegating to your team is something that I think we restrict on because we're afraid maybe we're giving them too much to do. But I also believe that our team has a well that we haven't reached the bottom of. Okay. We're afraid we're going to make them mad. We're afraid we're giving them too much work. I don't think that's the case. I think they want to be needed. I think they want to feel value. I think they want to have worth. And anytime you ask a staff member for help, my hope is that they leap at the chance. They're like, yeah, man, what do you need? Let me help you out. That should feel good for them. If they roll their eyes at you and they're like, oh God, another thing, like that's an issue that maybe needs to be addressed, and maybe there's something else going on there. My people do everything without complaint, and they work really hard. And, so whether you're delegating today or you're going to delegate down the road, this is something that you're going to have to learn. I want you to look forward to getting to this point in your career. If you're not doing it yet, it's something that I want you to strive towards. I want you to get to the place where you're like delegating all this stuff that you don't want to do so that other people can do it, so that you can do what you do best, which is market and sell. Okay. Or whatever your strength is. Okay. I want you to delegate all this stuff. And with that comes trust and training, and you have to make sure that your people are qualified and that they are capable and that they are working in a way that you are happy with. They are giving the service, and they're responding in a period of time that you're happy with to emails and phone calls. So there are expectations that have to be laid out when it comes to delegating. The one thing that I've seen cause problems with delegation is there's no timeline. Okay. Can you call this person back? Can you get this cert over? Can you do this? Can you do that? If those things aren't being done in a proper period of time and you're hearing from your customers, hey, so-and-so said they were going to call me back. Hey, so-and-so said they were going to email this to me. And that's getting to you. There's a breakdown in your chain, and that has to be addressed. Okay. Your expectation for when tasks need to be done need to be part of the delegation process. So you have to say, hey, can you call them back right now? The next thing you do, I need you to send this cert. I've been lucky with some staff members that have just been really high quality, and the rule of thumb that they deployed by themselves without me telling them was anytime I went to them with something to do, can you call someone? Can you work up this quote? Can you do this? Can you do that? And anything that I gave to them, they did next. And I didn't even have to ask them to do it. But that is something that you want to strive towards, okay? Not out of fear, out of respect, or out of if I'm going to give you something, it's important enough for me to give it to you, and they just ended up doing it next. And when I learned that, I could dial in the urgency of my requests. So if there was something that came across my desk and it wasn't urgent, I could give it to them and say, hey, can you work up this quote? I need it by Thursday, and it's Tuesday today or something like that. It's not something that needs to be done right now. It's not urgent, whatever. So these are the nuanced things that happen in your agency when you work closely together. So give timelines to things you're delegating. The default timeline in my agency with my people is when I give them something to do, they do it next. And like I said, that just kind of organically happened. I don't remember saying that to anybody in my agency. Hey, when I tell you to do something, like you do it right now. Like that just happened. And I can't speak to how that happened. I don't know. I think, like I said, culture is important in my agency. I think there's some mutual respect across the board that's been built and grown. And it's a wonderful thing to have happen in your agency. So if it needs to be said, I've talked to some agents and other business owners who delegate things and they don't get done. Like they just don't get done. And that would drive me crazy. And that's where I would start giving timelines to everything. Like this needs to be done by the end of the day. Like don't leave before this is done. That's really all that needs to be said to make sure things get done. The biggest red flag, like I mentioned earlier, is if stuff is coming back to me saying, hey, I expected to hear back from your team a couple of days ago. I haven't heard anything. That's a conversation that needs to be happening. You got to start putting timelines on. So I just wanted to talk about delegation. It's really important. If you can dial it in right, if the culture is there so that your team is taking what you're delegating to them and running with it immediately, that's what you're striving for. And you can get so much more done because everything's clicking on all cylinders, So I just had some thoughts on delegation I wanted to share with you, and I have shared them with you. So there you go. My name is Matt. This is Agency Launch. You can find me all over the place. I'm on Twitter and I'm on Instagram. I am at Dietz Agency. I'm very active on LinkedIn. Please connect with me there. Don't forget to send me a text, 208-213-8809, and send me a text. I am doing some laser coaching with people. If you're interested in what it's like to work with me, just text me to that number and text chat with Matt, and I will give you my calendar link and book a call. Let's get to know each other. Thank you so much for listening. Keep up the good work.